Wow, this is awesome. I got Lauren Cruz right here. She's ready to rock and roll with us. You know, as I said, many of us are struggling with strength right now, whether it's strength physically. Maybe you've been sick like me. I had COVID and it's taken me quite some time to even get close to recovery. Maybe your strength is wavering, deep down, just inner strength. I don't know if I've got it in me to make it through today. Or what am I going to do with these kids homeschooling again? So, Lauren, I'm going to get you in here. You have a book, The Strength of a Woman, Why You Are, Proverbs 31. Listen, you just jump in. Tell us a little bit about you and how this book came about.
Well, I wear many hats. Mom, brand new grandma. I'm a public school teacher, so I get to deal with all of that uncertainty in the next couple of weeks. A professor, an author, a speaker, just all of it. I need some strength some days. This book came about really out of Bible study and seminary study, and a friend introduced the concept of the Hebrew letters having imagery behind them, and I am just such a word nerd. I got really interested in that and took off from there. It really developed into a book that most Christian women are not familiar with. It's nothing new. It's not a secret code or anything like that. But the idea of being a strong woman from Proverbs 31 isn't usually taught in the churches. And so it's a new concept, a new way to look at it.
So I love that. So, you seem very strong. I know I sound strong, but we have weak days. Lauren, life can layer. And that's what we kind of talk about each week on Enjoy Today, On Tomorrow. How do we do that? Like in pandemics and with COVID and all the challenges. Strength is a big question mark for many of us.
Yes.
Can you tell us, what does strong mean? How do you hone in on that in this book?
Well, I look at it from the Hebrew perspective. I am a Christian. I'm not Jewish. But in Proverbs 31, it starts out with who can find a virtuous woman or who can find an excellent woman. And in Hebrew, that word is not virtuous or excellent. It's strong. And it's always strong used to describe the military or a soldier.
Wow.
And so right off the bat, this verse is opening up, this passage is opening up, immediately celebrating and complimenting this woman on her physical warrior strength. And of course, if you throw in the filter of Jesus, because we are Christian women, we understand that we can't do it on our own because we're going to be tired. We have got to lean into the strength of Christ. And so that's how the imagery plays in, because the first letter of that verse is the Hebrew letter Aleph, and it holds the imagery of an ox. So you might think of strong as an ox. But also oxen are yoked together to work together. And if we are yoked to Christ, who better to draw our strength from?
That's so powerful. And we could take that to the next level, just like you and I were talking before we recorded. Mm-hmm. We can help each other.
Absolutely.
Help each other. Two are stronger than one.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what that imagery is. That the two are yoked together, the two are working together, pulling together and doing that hard work together. And I think that's so important, especially today, because the one lovely thing about this COVID is, it's an introvert's greatest wish. However, it's such a spirit of division, and it's keeping us all just on our own and struggling on our own and trying to carry things on our own. That's hard. It's hard for us.
And that's interesting you said that, because I know personally, a lot of people would tell you, I am the Rock of Gibraltar. I am a tough cookie. COVID has really, not only did I get COVID, but I am a person. I mean, I'm a people person. I want to be with people, and I want to, just be with people. And this is terribly isolating, and it does make you kind of feel weak. Mm-hmm. You don't have that where I'm meeting you at Starbucks and having a latte. You don't have that going to church and singing in choir, if that's what you do, or whatever.
Exactly. That rejuvenation.
Yes, rejuvenation. Absolutely. Let me ask you, what brought you into that scripture? I just think that is so cool that this Proverbs 31 has kind of been used to women kind of as an unrealistic, for me, an unrealistic expectation of what I should be. I don't know about you, but what brought you into the strength of this?
Yeah, I actually start out just firmly confessing I didn't like this lady very much. She made me tired. She felt like a standard sometimes. All things to everyone. And there's days that I'm lucky to get Chick-fil-A on the table for dinner because that's all I can handle, you know? So I didn't like her that much. But as I just studied a little bit more and really did those word studies, really began to pour into some of the Hebrew aspects and understanding the Hebrew culture of it, because it's handled very differently from what we as American Christian church people understand it to be. It's different in the Jewish thinking. So I just started seeing some interesting lessons that I could handle. I may not be up all night and make breakfast for my family before sunlight, and I'm not knitting and crocheting. That's not me, but I can do spiritual warfare in the prayer room. I can do that for my family. I can do some reconnaissance work before our family gets too busy in activities that we don't have business working in. That's actually the lesson of the passage. It's very different than just taking care of your house.
Yes, it is. So, Lauren, could you speak to the listener today that is weary or maybe feels like she's not as good as another woman that's going through COVID? She's that other woman's a better mother, a better Christian, a better. And so it makes her feel weak or less strong. Can you help us today? Where can we find some nuggets of strength today if we're weary?
That's a really good question. And my first answer is I don't care how together somebody appears to be. We're all struggling in some way, and some of us might show it a little more than others. Some of us might just stuff it and try to trudge on in our own strength. But rest assured, we're all in this. We have highs and lows and goods and bads. And so hang in there, because there's always tomorrow.
Well, first, I think the important thing that you're saying is you're not alone. Listen,
you're not alone.
That COVID has done, we're all equal. I mean, nobody is escaping the repercussions or the changes that have been brought on from COVID. Nobody.
Yeah, there is no normal anymore, because all of us are trying to navigate that. And for each one of us, we don't have that routine anymore, and we don't have that, things that we look forward to anymore, because every day we don't know. We just don't know what that day is going to bring. And so I get that, but what I have found is I use that time. How many of us before all this started were flying by the seat of our pants, wishing we had just a little more time? And so I've embraced this time, and I'm just going to restructure my day, because I'm not going anywhere yet, and I'm going to use that time to restructure the way I want it. Instead of flying by the seat of my pants, I'm going to linger over that cup of coffee and read my Bible, or have a phone call with someone because I'm not rushed out the door, or I'm not having to do it in my car on the commute. I'm going to take advantage of being able to restructure some of that time and be a little more purposeful, invest a little bit more. I've got the time to do it now. I can.
Well, and that in itself builds inner strength. I'll be the first to say I ran late all the time. It drove my husband nuts, y'all. Drove him nuts. So he said to me one day, it was kind of a pivot for me. He said, if you would just leave 10 minutes earlier than you're leaving, you would actually be early. Well, listen, guys, it saved me. It changed me, because in the old Laine, walking out 5 minutes late, I was rushed. I wasn't patient. I wasn't kind. I wasn't gentle. I was honking my horn at people in the way. Listen, COVID has kind of done that for all of us. It's a reset. I keep calling it a divine reset. We're
Me
going to
too.
reset our time and our values and just reset what we're thinking. And, just what you're saying made me smile because instead of being rushed all the time, I do have a little bit more time. And it has brought a little inner strength, that I'm not so rushed and harried all the time.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. New habits, new opportunities. I don't have the commute right now, so I'm not in a hurry to get out the door. So I'm able to take a walk in the morning. That's nice. Can't do that every day, especially in the South in this heat. You have to do it in the morning.
Yes.
But and then there's things, what do I want to take with me too? Not, as now the world is opening it up and I'm going to return to school in a couple of weeks. What do I want to take with me? Once upon a time, I actually remember when stores weren't open on Sundays. And, now with limited business hours, why can't I take that time back and have that Sunday meal, or have dinner with my family again, and kind of invest in other things that are a little more important.
Well, that's important to say today. I know personally when all of this happened, I called myself centered. I think we all try to be centered in Christ, centered in the way that he would have us live.
Mm-hmm.
But I did really, say, my family is so important. Where do I want to be daily or more in my mindset? It's with my family and my friends, the people that truly matter.
That's right.
That in itself was strength building for me, just making that decision that I was going to do all I could to reach out to a friend in these times, reach out to my mom who's isolated at 86 in her little place because she's, fearful of COVID and being aged. So, I hope if you're out there and you're struggling and you are weak, Lauren has just told us, maybe we just need to take a deep breath first and, maybe dig deep and first ask ourselves, what really is important today? Is it my family? Is it my friend? Or is it someone that really needs me? And, I have found, Lauren, and I'm sure you have too, that it's in my book, when we pay it forward, when we look outside of ourselves, when we maybe see a neighbor that's struggling or whoever, and we reach out, that too is a big strength builder, isn't it?
It is because you're outside of yourself, and it just is easier to look to others and to offer that helping hand, and it's taking your mind off of your own struggles and your own battles for a time. It's almost a relief to be able to help bear up somebody else and not worry so much about what I'm dealing with, because then I can see, like, yes, I do have value. Yes, I am, helping somebody else, and it makes life a little bit easier and a little bit sweeter too.
Well, if you had to give us some bullets today, if someone's driving around right now listening or just sitting down at home hearing this podcast or viewing it, tell me some bullets that they could take away today that would build their strength.
I'd say number one, take the example of Christ, because even Christ pulled away and went off by himself and reestablished that connection with his Father in heaven. We have the time to do that now. Take advantage of it. Start creating some good habits. And number two is understand we're all in this together, and there might be somebody that needs some help as well. We're not in this alone. We don't have to bear our burdens alone, and others might definitely benefit for what help and what peace we can offer them in this crazy time. So I think those are probably number one and number two.
In your own life, Lauren, when you were struggling with weakness, do you remember what that looked like? I mean, can you name a time in your life that you can identify to maybe a listener today?
Sure, absolutely. I think my biggest struggle is that person-pleasing perfection. Am I good enough? I struggled a long time seeking degrees or working, volunteering to do this, just hoping that that would be just good enough, good enough to finally feel like I've accomplished something. And it makes you tired. And boy, that was a lot of work. And some of it was a waste of time, frankly. And so I think what I learned from that is, walk with Christ, because his ways are not my ways. He does not look at the degrees. He does not look at the accolades in the Pinterest house. He's not interested in that. He is seeking a heart that is receptive to how he is going to shape and mold it. And so once I was able to kind of let go of that and embrace the idea that, Christ is the potter and I am the lump of clay to be molded, it makes things a little bit easier to just kind of to be pressed into the image that he wants me to be, and not the one I strove and was working so hard to obtain.
And isn't that interesting? And the irony of that is we think that that degree, that extra letter after our name, things like that, maybe it's that designer dress, or maybe it's that bigger house. We think that that's going to actually make us be better or stronger. But ironically, it depletes us, because it's a lie, really, right?
Yes, ma'am, I agree. It's just a wrap. I just think of the hamster on the wheel. We're just going in circles and spinning, trying to more, and we're wearing ourselves out.
Yes. Well, that's kind of the value. I've tried to keep a positive mindset around all of this pandemic, and I've been calling it a divine reset, a divine, distraction almost, to get us off that rat race, to get us off that hamster wheel. Just because we've been doing life a certain way for a long time doesn't mean that's the way we should have been doing it. So I believe with all my heart, with people like you pouring into us, Lauren, teaching us a new way to be strong that we probably might not have known if we hadn't had this pandemic, because now we have the time to listen to a podcast. There's just positive things that I have to stay focused. I don't think we all have to, but I love that you said we many times we do get caught up in seasons that we're doing something and it's not necessarily bringing out the best for us. And so, again, your book, Strength of a Woman, Why You Are Proverbs 31. Again, if you had to tell us what they call an elevator pitch about this book, what would you say the greatest value of reading this book today would be?
I really hope that my readers walk away knowing that there is nothing we have done in our lives that disqualify from God's use. We look at this biblical woman as a standard, and we need to redefine that predefined idea about her. She is strong only because she is yoked to Christ, and only because she is led by the Holy Spirit. And that's really the only way we're going to really succeed and be able to accomplish things without wearing ourselves out. And we're able to embrace, the story that he has for us. It's actually a heroic hymn. It's a song that he sings over us in celebration of our victories and our strength as warrior women. And, there's tons of stories in here that talk about women who have been in the trenches and how they have come out and they are victorious and they embrace the song that Christ sings over them.
Wow, I did not realize it was a song.
Yeah.
Over us. That's just so special, isn't it?
I think so. It's the same song, in the Bible where it talks about how the women of the city were singing for David, and Saul killed 1,000, but David killed 10,000. That's called a heroic hymn, and it's sung to warriors who came back from the battle. And this passage in Proverbs 31, when we look at it in Hebrew, we begin to understand it's the same type of song that God sings over us. There's lots of references to the military. The strength of this woman is referenced, I think, 6 times in the passage. And so it's definitely a celebration of our strength.
Wow. If that's not a great place to leave us today, man, oh man, Lauren, thank you so much for writing this book and bringing this new revelation to the Proverbs 31 woman. And she's strong. You are strong out there. You need to get this book, and you need to see that it's our power from God that makes us so strong. It's not in our own efforts, is it, Lauren?
Not at all. It's only through him.
Wow. Thank you again. I love you, and I'll have you back soon.
Hey, thank you for having me. It was a treat.
Yes.